as Ace Ruskin got in the investigation room of the prison where Edath was put on. He asked Lucas to stay outside so he could easily talk to her. Even though Lucas wasn't particularly satisfied by that decision, he accepted it and leaned back on the cold wall outside. After the prison guard opened the door for him, he put his hands on his pockets and walked with his head down. While many always thought that walking with his head down was weird and unprofessional, Ace believed it showed the despise he had towards assassins for not facing him like he faces respectable people. And he also didn't care about the ethics of the job.
Seriously? Now I have to be annoyed by a brat?
Edath leaned back in the chair and crossed her right leg up her left, while bringing both her handcuffed hands to her mouth, covering it as she pretended to be embarrassed.
I haven't got any candy for you, and my merchandise isn't for sale. Well, not for you, at least.
Ace finally looked into her eyes with scorn. He saw a woman in her 20s sat on the chair wearing prison clothes with some bruises on her face, as well as some cuts on it. Her green eyes were sparkling with fury. The dark circles under them showed lack of sleep due probably to some of the special treatment she was given there, even though she was helping with some of the investigations. She didn't look tall, but she had a proportional and tanned body, which was quite thin, colored by bruises. He further noticed that her brown hair was cut in a weird way, probably shortened with fire, Ace thought, and she still had the symbol of their tribe carved on her forehead. He hid his surprise. He wasn't expecting to see her again like that. Ruskin unbuttoned his shirt enough so she could see the 5 parallel diagonal scars upon his chest. She stopped smiling and sighed, looking bored. He noticed surprise in her eyes. For less than a second, though, he smirked.
Nice. Did you carve it yourself? A bit masochist, aren't you?
She smirked back and looked away, playing bored. Ace furiously buttoned up his shirt and stepped closer as he leaned his face near hers. He bent the collar of her shirt enough to see her chest. He spotted there the same 5 parallel scars that he did.
And I thought you were going to see my boobs.
Edath ignored the fact that he was looking at the same scars he had.
I thought I told you my merch isn't available.
I will fucking kill you.
Ace grabbed her by her chin, squeezing it hard. His eyes were like burning flames. But Edath didn't even blink her eyes. She tried to hold her laugh instead, which made Ace Ruskin even more pissed off.
Oh, I can't wait.
She was still looking at him with the same challenging eyes. He dropped his hand and threw his head to the back. When he stopped laughing, he noticed that Edath's expression had slightly changed into confusion. He noticed that the guard who was in that room had the same countenance as Edath had.
But of course, I have to torture you a bit before, because, I'm getting paid, so to make you spill the intel, we all know you have.
Alright, bring it on. I'm ready for your sadomasochistic torture. Anything is better than to be locked down with nothing to feel anyway.
She added and tilted her head to the right.
Oh yeah? And you want me to believe that all those bruises and cuts and all that shit were all done by yourself?
He asked, getting tired of her challenging attitude. If the guard wasn't there, he sure would have punched her already.
Well, you believe in whatever you want. After all, we all need to get some new looks now and then, right?
Edath closed her eyes, giving a theatrical countenance. Ace decided to try something different instead.
You know what? Why don't we start over? I'd like to be your friend.
He made a half smile as he decreased the space between them. She rolled her eyes. Now he could see Edath getting upset.
You are lying.
Ace closed his eyes.
Is this what they call her talent? Impressively stupid. Why do you say something like that? After all, we are both from Jafir, aren't we?
He held her handcuffed hands. Jafir was the remote island both were from. It was an island located somewhere near the Azores Triple Junction, which due to her small size was never considered by the satellites. Well, because of that. And also because of the reason people were sent there. Although both Edath and Ace were born on that island. Edith's eyebrows were raised, waiting for him to continue, her lips pressed against each other. He lowered his voice so the guard wouldn't listen.
I could try to release you, you know? You could run. And I'd help you, if you'd want.
He smiled as he got even closer to her, while he fondled her broken hair. Their faces were a few inches apart. Her eyes were looking at his lips as he pronounced those words. She bit her lip and looked at him, brushing her nose on his. The guard advised Ruskin to stay away from her, but he didn't listen. He was too consumed by Edath.
You know, I fucking hate liars.
With a rapid movement, she violently bit Ace's nose.
That fucking bitch! I'll kill you! I'll rip you limb from limb!
Ace tried to get rid of Edath, but feared that she would bite his nose off. The guard moved fast and hit her neck with the taser gun he was holding. Right after he kicked her chair, making her fall from it. Her body twitched for a few seconds and then she passed out. Many blood drops fell to the floor from Ace's nose. He was still screaming of pain when another prison guard followed by a panicked Lucas entered the room. When Ace was finally able to think, he glanced at her with cholera.
Oh, I will definitely end your existence.
Lael Aiken was working on the office for a new case that his team was investigating. It was about a new killer whose victims were all women with no apparent relation to each other but the fact that the three of them had the kids with them. They were all found nearby the Central Park, and even though it was in the daylight, nobody witnessed the kills. All the women looked like they were asleep, with their hands resting on their lap. All of that searching was driving him crazy, and he knew he had to start the interviews with the family of the most recent victim as soon as possible. Somehow he was always the one who had to investigate the families and interview them, when it wasn't Gore. As it seems, he always had aptness to talk with people. The fact that he hadn't slept very well that night was making him even slower and tired. His eyes were now half opened.
Do you want a kiss, Sleeping Beauty?
Julian joked while being inconveniently close to him. Lael jumped from his chair and looked terrorized.
Hell no! I'd rather prefer die in piss.
Lael put one of his hands on Julian's shoulder, who was pretending to be offended.
I'm gonna refresh.
His mates were all still laughing from the situation, which made Aiken embarrassed. He remembered that one time when a similar situation happened to Gore, they all took a photo of him and made a montage that made him look like he was asleep on their patrol car. That montage was so well done that even Carver and the director started to question the reality of that photo.
Don't worry, Aiken. I'll look after Prince Charming so he won't be bothering you.
Elena Blair winked and smiled as she was witnessing the situation. She was working on Earl's team in a rape assault that led to the death of a woman in her mid-60s. Lael smiled and went next to her.
How's it going?
He asked, pointing his chin towards the paperwork on her desk. She shook her head, making her brown hair tied in a ponytail swing from side to side.
It seems that her husband was behind it all. He wasn't the one who raped her, but he knew about her fragile condition and hired a man who was willing to do anything. The aim of the contract was to have the man pretend an assault or something that would make her have a heart attack and die. The husband didn't want him to kill her directly because that would leave more traces. But in the end, he raped her, so that wasn't a smart move.
She shook her head, visibly pissed off.
The man successfully killed her, not because of the heart attack, but because he was practicing violent oral sex with her, which made her unable to breathe properly. All of this so her husband could get her fortune?
Jesus Christ. What's wrong with these people nowadays?
Money. Money is what's wrong.
She replied as she took off her glasses to clean them. Her face expressed the sorrow lacking in her voice.
We already interrogated the man and he confessed everything. Now we're waiting for a trial for the husband.
Well, good luck.
Lael nodded and smiled sympathetically. Elena had almost 20 years of experience in that job, but she was always quite sensitive in the cases involving kids and women. She was a 40-year-old woman that once was married with Adam Carver when they were his age.
I don't know how.
Aiken thought as he imagined both of them together, which made him cringe as he remembered that he used to have a crush on her.
You're not quite yourself today. What's the matter?
Elena's brown, shining eyes were glaring at Aiken.
I just haven't slept very well today. Don't worry.
He smiled as he started to walk towards the bathroom. Elena Blair shook her head and sighed. As Lael closed the door behind him that gives access to the bathroom and started to walk towards it, he heard a loud noise coming through the front door. He was about to return when he heard the little brat, now his colleague.
Is Lael here?
Lael halted as he heard his name. He was undecided. He didn't know if he should go outside or if he should stay in there waiting to see what Ace wanted from him.
I'm gonna hide,
he thought, feeling childish at the same time. He couldn't help it.
I want to know what's going on. I want to know what they say when I'm not present.
Lael gulped. He hated doing that, but he was certain he had reasons for acting like that. He was just afraid that he was being backstabbed somehow.
He went to the bathroom right now? But what happened?
Good.
Lael heard footsteps, so he hurried towards one of the toilets in the bathroom down the corridor and hid there. He tried not to laugh, although he couldn't understand what he was doing anyway. The door that gave access to the bathroom was opened and Ace screamed.
Oh, Lael! Everything all right?
Hey. Hey! Kinda. I'm just a little tired. And now I was trying to get my head in the right place. I'll be right back. His voice sounds weird. Like he's covering his nose. Something is wrong.
He was making an effort to sound credible, but he didn't even believe himself.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Don't worry. Take your time.
As he finished saying that, the door shut.
Weird.
Aiken silently got out of the toilet and moved next to the door that was closed so he could hear what they were saying, even though it was wrong.
Well, keeping secrets from me is wrong too.
That looks bad.
Fabian Jefferson from Harvey's team commented. Something heavy was thrown on the ground, and despite hoping that it would be Ace, Lael understood that was something like a book or a case.
That slut bit me. But I'm not giving up. Even if I have to peel her skin off piece by piece to get the fucking intel, so be it.
Ace was pissed off and was walking in a non-stoppable rhythm.
I don't care. I just want to hear her scream. I just want to see her screaming face.
But don't forget that you work with us, okay?
What the hell is going on?
Aiken thought and kept listening, leaning a bit closer to the door without being spotted.
Oh, fuck that!
Something was kicked.
Hey! You know what's a good idea? Why don't we bring Lael to her? She might as well feel a bit
Shush! Are you insane? He might hear you. Don't forget who you work for. You can't. You heard.
Then what choice do we have, huh? For what we know, he might not even regain his memories, and as long as we keep her on a short leash, she won't make him remember either. And if he does, well, all know what to do, so...
What the hell are they talking about? What is Ace talking about?
Lael blamed his ears for listening too much.